everyone. This is Andre, and I'm here with Miruna, and our guest today is Tony Cole. Tony is the Vice President of the US Operations for Senet Consulting. First, I want to say thanks to Tony for accepting our invitation. So we have a series of questions for you today because we'd like to get to know you better and to find out about your work and pretty much what gets you up in the morning. I know you have a lot of experience in fire protection engineering. You are a P in multiple states. You've worked abroad for so many years. You spent over a decade in Middle East, in fact. So there must be a lot of passion behind all this work in order to achieve these things. So what I want to know is why fire engineering? What's so rewarding about this field in your vision?
Well, good question. It's kind of an interesting story, really. I woke up when I was about 3 years old and I wanted to be a firefighter. That was it. I wanted to do nothing else. I wanted to be a firefighter as long as I can remember. Went through, elementary school, middle school, high school. And when I got out, I got on the fire department and was doing the firefighter, EMT, hazmat, rescue, the whole 9 yards. And I happened to be assigned to a station that was near some industrial facilities. And we were making a fire inspection as you do and pre-planning as we would for the fire department. And I met a guy who was a fire protection engineer. He's an FPE. And I said, well, what is that? I'd never heard of that before. And mind you, this is also in the mid 80s. So fire engineering was really new there at that time. And he explained to me what it was. He explained to me using engineering and science to solve problems to make buildings or facilities or industrial plants safe. And I kind of started, well, that's kind of interesting. That really kind of spoke to me a little bit, kind of the more technical aspect of things. So pursued it, looked into it, and looked at a couple of schools and went down and visited a couple of schools and ended up choosing Eastern Kentucky University and their fire protection and safety engineering technology program. So ended up going to Eastern Kentucky University, where I got my bachelor's in fire protection and safety engineering technology, and that's really how I got into the field. I kind of fell into it through the fire service. I never left the fire service. I still worked as a firefighter. It's how I paid through my college. Was a firefighter afterwards, and as I tell everybody. I kind of have firefighting in the heart and engineering in the brain. So I'm one of those unique guys that you come across who may not always seem like an engineer because of my firefighting background. But what it's really done for me is it's allowed me to really kind of bridge the gap between the fire service and the fire engineering field. And it's kind of a passion of mine. So what gets me up in the morning is that passion of going out and trying to make the world a fire safe place and then bridging that gap between firefighters and fire engineers and how we really have the same job, just different parts of the job.
Oh, yeah. We are totally agree with you. And I'm really glad that we spoke about the fulfilling industry this is. And now I'd like to ask you, Tony, because you worked as a contractor, you work for consultancies, for the fire department. What do you think are the pros and cons of working in fire engineering for each domain?
That's interesting. I get asked this a lot, actually. The pros are that it's something different every day.
Yes.
It's not the same mundane stuff where if you're a mechanical engineer, you're doing HVAC systems today, tomorrow, and in 5 years. It's something different. Today, it could be a life safety report on a football stadium. Tomorrow, it could be a fireproofing study at a gas plant. The next day, it could be emergency response planning at a large factory. So it's something different every day. So it really gives you that excitement of going in and learning new things and seeing new facilities. So for me, that's what I enjoy about it. Some of the cons are really the fire engineering field kind of falls outside the norm. When I introduced myself as a fire protection engineer, people are like, well, what is that? And I have to say, well, it's mechanical engineer, chemical engineer, civil engineer, electrical engineer, all smashed together. And that's really what we do, because we take a little bit of each. So a lot of people don't know what fire protection engineers are. The other thing too is that we find ourselves making difficult decisions. Sometimes we get called in where maybe a facility spent millions of dollars on a project, and we have to come in and say, well, it doesn't meet fire code, or it doesn't meet a particular standard. And so in doing so, we sometimes, put ourselves in a position where our client is not exactly happy with us. So that's kind of the difficult aspect of things, really, is just sometimes being the bearer of bad news when you go in and do that.
Yeah. As you explained the pros and cons, I was thinking, since you work in the Middle East for some time and then you got back to the US, I'm sure there are some differences in terms of legislation, authorities, projects, codes that you've noticed. So to summarize, I'm curious where were the main differences that you encountered in terms of fire engineering while still working in these countries?
That's interesting because it is different. So here in the U.S., everything is basically local centric, local driven. So you have a local fire marshal, or you might have which would be maybe the city or the county, a state fire marshal. And from a regulatory standpoint, you're dealing with a much tighter structure, and you're dealing with individuals on a much local level. Internationally, where I've worked, and I've worked all over the globe, it tends to be more government-based. Many of the fire services are paramilitary organizations, whether they're civil defense, and they are purely governmental entities. So you can imagine, if you will, the differences in dealing with a local fire marshal who's local to your city versus dealing with a civil defense agency that is govern the entire country. And so it's a lot easier to build those relationships with the local fire marshals than it is with government entities. So I find that to be really challenging. And also in doing so is how they adopt the codes, right? So some codes are adopted, some codes are not. So it's really challenging. And I think that's one of the things that, at least here at Senez Consulting, that allows us to help our clients the best, is that we have that understanding and that knowledge. We've worked in a lot of countries, and we understand and have relationships with various government entities to help get your project through those lines. But those would be the biggest things that I would see. And I think that's pretty much some of the major challenges working abroad versus working in the U.S.
Interesting that that you mentioned that, because I was talking with an engineer the other day, and I found out a very interesting difference from a New Zealand perspective and probably a US perspective. People are told not to evacuate a building if it has sprinklers, and even then it's special circumstances to stay in the building. And as far as I know, in other countries, people are told exactly the opposite. But can you explain this to us a little bit, Tony? Because as someone that doesn't know fire engineering to a technical degree, it sounds frightening.
Yeah, and I can understand that. So many buildings, particularly in the U.S., Australia, and throughout Europe, buildings are built with fire partitions as well as provided with sprinkler systems. And so the way that the building would work is that if you had a fire in one part of the shopping mall, you are not affected in the other part of the shopping mall. And so a lot of times, and this is also particular in high-rise buildings, because in high-rise buildings where everything is more vertical than it is horizontal, let's say in a mall, you have the same situation. Each floor has various hour separation. So it could be hour separation, could be 2-hour separation, and then buildings that are provided with sprinklers. So you may be just as safe inside that floor than you are trying to evacuate and get mixed in with the crowd. So really, a lot of times, particularly in high rises, what they'll do is they'll evacuate the floor that is having some sort of event, and 1 or 2 floors above and 1 or 2 floors below, simply because of the fire partitioning. It's not necessarily something that you have to evacuate right away, versus in your home or in your apartment complex. You don't have the same fire partitions and smoke partitions and sprinklers that you would have in these high rises or shopping malls or football stadiums. So really what it is, it has to do with just stage evacuation and getting those people who are immediately affected out, and then getting the rest of the people out safely, and out to the public way.
Thanks for explaining this to us. It's always a good day to learn something new.
Yep.
Now I'd like us to make a transition back to jobs, and I know you only started with Senes this month, Tony. So we want to say congratulations and to find some insights from you.
Sure.
I
Go ahead.
Thank you. I know Senes Consulting is well established in Canada, and you are now building a presence for them in the US. So my question for you is, what are you looking to achieve in your new journey with Senes? How are you planning to do that?
Good question. So, fortunately for me, I knew Peter from previous work experiences. So coming to Senes Consulting was an easy choice for me, because I wanted to work with Peter. Peter is a super smart guy. He's laid back. He's well known throughout the fire protection industry, particularly in Canada. So it's an easy choice for me. My function is what you said, is to kind of grow the U.S. business, and I'm doing that through my connections and contacts through various people, and bringing in that work, growing those contacts, and then bringing that work inside the door. So right now, I kind of have a twofold function, and that is kind of a business development and business plan strategy, and then hiring the people to bring it in, and then getting the work executed out to our clients without sacrificing customer service, because that is, to me, one of the most important things. So right now we're growing, we're busy. We are looking for people here in the U.S., particularly in the Houston area. We are expanding out westward, out towards Denver and LA, in the next coming months and early part of next year. So we will have positions open there as well.
Thank you for sharing this with us. And from everything you've presented, yeah, there is a constant growth for fire engineering. So what most people don't know is how busy a fire engineer can be, actually. This is a new engineering discipline, and in their vision, you either design sprinklers or you're a firefighter, and there is no in between. And I think it can be a thankless job sometimes. I am curious to find out, what projects are you after at the moment?
Wow, good question. Yes, we are very busy. I am very busy. I've been up since about 5 a.m. this morning on a call. So today, just as an example, I'm dealing with one client who is based in Qatar, and it is a fire safety review of a LNG facility. And so we were working on that process. And then later on today, I'm working on a brewery and distillery. They have some flammable liquid problems on a new process that I'm working with them on. And that's based here in the U.S. And then later on this afternoon and tomorrow, I have a client up in Canada, and they have some insurance problems and some fireproofing problems of their facility. It's a midstream gas facility. So I'll be helping them. So I am literally jumping from one project to another project to another project. And it's spanning the globe. I'm sorry. And it goes from Qatar to the U.S. to Canada. And I'm getting ready to work on a project based in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. That's coming in, and I have another project in Saudi Arabia that's coming in as well. And then we're looking at a couple of projects down in South America, down in Chile and Lima, Peru. So it's exciting. It's something where you have to be organized, and most engineers are. Most engineers are to a fault almost. We are uber organized, and that helps. And so, yeah, so it's a variety of projects. Like I said earlier in the interview, you're not going to do the same thing over and over again. That's just not what this business is about. And you're not going to work in one particular city. You're going to cover the globe. Although right now I'm focused on the U.S., as you know, getting the U.S. operation up and running U.S. operations. But I have one job right now in Qatar, one coming in Saudi, one in the U.S., and one in Canada. So, and that's how we work. We just work as a team here. So that makes it enjoyable.
I think it's a nice problem to be this busy, actually.
It is.
Yeah.
As you said, being a principal is really exciting and also really time consuming. And I can tell that not many people can do it, actually.
It takes a lot of patience and understanding, and fortunately, for me, I love what I do. So because of that, it reflects quite easily in the daily activities that I have and the interactions I have with staff and clients. Because I do enjoy what I do. So for me, it's quite easy. I don't get up in the mornings and begrudge coming to work. I get up in the mornings thinking about what I'm going to do today, who I'm going to talk to, and what I can do to go out there and make a difference.
Exactly. And also this position comes with huge responsibility also. And
It does. It comes with big responsibilities because we are, for instance, with the facility in Qatar, we're making $1 million and $1 billion decisions based on how to provide proper fire protection for a multi-billion-dollar facility. We make decisions when we do smoke modeling and egress modeling on your safety in the building that you may be in or your family may be in. So we have a really tight quality assurance process and report review process. Things are always reviewed by senior staff. Even my work, everybody's work is reviewed to make sure that, in fact, we are on top of what we're doing, and the advice that we're providing is providing that level of fire safety that is expected in society.
so I think it is not a bit too early to ask you if you made the right decision by joining Cenis and setting up the US operation for them.
Absolutely. I mean, I knew it was the right decision from day one. I knew it was the right decision in talking to Peter throughout the process to bring me on board. A lot of synergies, a lot of head nodding, going back and forth, saying, "Yep, that's right. That's where we need to be." And so there's a lot of similarities. So for me, the best decision I ever made.
We can tell that because we can see how passionate you are when you talk about your work and
Yes.
your team.
Yes.
And I also do believe that with your experience, you'll grow this business the way you intend to. And I think you have a rewarding career after all, but I want you to go back to the time when you were a student and remember how it was actually, because I want to ask you, what advice you'd give to an engineer at the beginning of their career?
The best advice that I could give, and it takes engineers a long time to learn this, and that is just listen. When you come out of school, you think you know everything. You got all A's and B's in school, and you think that because that you can do some differential equations, you can solve the world's problems. And we're all like that. And I was no different. And then I worked with a guy, and my first career out was with FM Global, and I worked with a guy by the name of Jim Rosewell, and he was a very much more senior guy than I was. And when you came to him with questions, you were not really to talk. You were to present your question, how you researched it, and then he kind of not told you, but he explained to you. And there's a difference, right? There's a difference in telling me what the answer is and explaining what the answer is. And I really look back on my time with Jim and the things that I learned. So as a young engineer, listen, take notes, ask those questions, and at least for me, for the young engineers who've worked for them in the past, and you're more than welcome to ask any of them, they'll tell you. I'm not going to give you the answer. If you come to me and say, what is this? I'm not going to give the answer. You got to come to me and let's talk through the answer. And it's a teaching moment for me. So I will explain the answer, why it's this way and where it came from and why we do it this way. So that's to me is what's important. So as a young engineer, if I had to talk to myself in front of me today, I would say those things to him.
This is a really good advice, and you guys please be aware of it because young generation tends to be a bit in a rush nowadays, and yes, listening to everything behind you and in front of you, it really makes a difference.
It does. It really does.
Now, Tony, we have a really serious question for you. I hope you're ready for it.
I'm ready for it.
Where's the best place to go out on a Friday night in your town?
That is the most important question. That is absolutely that should have been first. There's a lot of good places. There's a lot of good microbreweries and craft breweries here that are fun to go out to. Lots of live music. I enjoy going out on a Friday night and trying different pizza places and trying some of the different craft beers and things like that. And just seeing the different types of pizza out there. So this is kind of a, kind of a traditional thing, right? You go out with your friends and stuff. So I enjoy going out, getting the pizza, different places, and trying the different craft beers and things of this nature. So there's also a couple of places that are down along a river here near our town, and they have really good barbecue and Cajun food, and they have always a live band on Friday nights. So also go down there and just enjoy the live local band, look at the river traffic, and kind of relax from the week and get ready for the next week.
Indeed, like
Wonderful. Now that you told us the secret, let's say we might have to check it out. If you say it's that great,
Absolutely.
we have to book a flight and check
Absolutely.
it out.
that's on my to-do list. Well, I think it's a wrap, folks. Thank you, Tony, for your time, and cheers to new beginnings.
Thank you.
Thank you.